Hello, everyone. Well, stress, all of us are stressed, but how does that impact a mid-aged woman or a woman going through perimenopause, menopause, and beyond? That's the topic we are going to be talking today with Monigho. Monigho has her personal story as well when she was going through perimenopause, and now she's helping other women conquer some of the things that she went through. Thank you so much for joining me, Monigho. I really thankful.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. So my story is that I started to find it really difficult to explain, to remember, to understand things. So I self-diagnosed dementia, and I thought I'm going to keep this a secret for as long as possible so I don't burden my family with it. And to my surprise, in and up to now, I still don't know what it was. It's something really random. Then I found that it was just another perimenopause symptom. So had I have known that brain fog was a perimenopause symptom, it would have saved me a lot of stress. You know, I started to worry about the choices I've made to life. Like maybe this brain fog was because I didn't look after myself, I wasn't sleeping, I just felt, speaking was something that I needed to do for my job. I thought, how am I going to be able to accomplish that? And then also, like most of the times when we have a problem, we become very isolated. We keep it to ourselves. We try and mask it. And that in itself brings a lot of stress. And so, as Anita already explained, I decided that I want to be the support that I needed in order to inform and educate women to prepare for perimenopause. And if they're at that phase already, to have practical solution to deal with the 30-odd symptoms that comes along with it. So one of the things that, like Anita already mentioned, was stress. And we know that we all feel stress, but then how does menopause work with stress? Does stress cause menopause, or does menopause cause stress? Well, menopause is all about menopause is all about our hormones, and it's important for our we have these symptoms because of the hormone estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, what they refer to as sex hormones, are in decline. And so when they are in decline, just like a seesaw, so they're in decline, and then it means the other hormones like cortisol goes up. And as we know, cortisol is a stress hormone. Now, so we lose this balance because of the decline of hormones. So that is what is physically happening in our body. And so it's very important, like as women, in order for us to manage this stress, is that like our bodies would naturally respond to stress, whether it's perceived or it's actual. And so it's so important for us to have coping mechanisms in order to react to stress so that we're not getting ourselves stressed over for something that is not actually a reality. Because as we know that a lot of the time we worry about things that actually, don't come about. So sorry, Anita, was you going to say something?
Oh, no. I was just going to say that you mentioned does stress cause menopause or the menopause cause stress, right? If you think of a journey of a 30-year-old girl or a woman, actually, not a girl anymore, they're all they're stressed because in today's day and age, everyone's working. My mom never worked. I don't know about your mom, but that there was stress in that generation is what I'm trying to say. But today, everyone has to be financially independent from whether you're a girl or a boy, it doesn't matter. So that, especially to a woman's body, that adds more stress because now you have to make money. Earlier, you could be not having the stress of making money. So how do you want to talk to us a little bit that stress is prevalent to every woman, every person in the world today's day and age, assuming that. What kind of things that did you do when you were diagnosed with brain fog or maybe a little bit of a dementia to help yourself and then to become what you are today, right? The personal stories are always very beautiful. And what do you tell other women now to de-stress themselves?
Okay, thank you. It's a great question. So first of all, when I realized that it was brain fog, um, all of a sudden, like I was relieved because I now knew that it wasn't a life-ending disease. It was just a temporary symptom. So knowing what it actually was a relief. And so that's where information and education helps because we know what we're dealing with. And then also what I did that helped me with brain fog is that I didn't pretend I didn't have it. I just told people that, like I might be a little bit forgetful, so and so, like it's this, or if I'm in a group meeting and, afterwards and I just discuss, like with somebody, obviously it's like a trusted person, like with anything that we know who we can confide into and not. Um, and I confided that, I feel that I'm not as eloquent as I used to be because of this brain fog. And, like it was something that they didn't really notice that, and so sometimes we are our own worst enemies. We have these high expectations for ourselves and we focus on what we're not doing rather than what we're doing. So we have to be to be kinder to ourselves, to not to, and like this negative self-talk. I stopped being like as you said with 30-year-old women, like you have to be, it's like you almost have to be perfect, like super women. I stopped being a perfectionist. I started saying that if it's good enough, to do things to a standard that is good enough and not for it not to be perfect, you know. And also another thing that was so important was negative self-talk. I didn't tell myself, like I'm past my best. Yes, like I had, like a good life. I've had some accomplishments, but I'm not a prophet. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. Things may be better, So rather than I'm telling myself things that I'm past my best, why don't I just reframe it and say the best is yet to come, you know? You mentioned mothers. Look at our mothers. Yes, they might not have been as challenging for them to go through perimenopause. However, they still had to go through it, and look at them. They live in the lives that they want to live. They have freedom. They have their, full faculties. They enjoy the quality of life. So looking at them as life after perimenopause, post-menopause was also encouraging. And then even and like sometimes we get stressed because I look at myself and think, oh my goodness, like I'm older, more wrinkles, my skin's drier. So what I did is rather than focus on what I don't like about myself, focus on what we do. And I know for women, as I said before, we are our own worst enemies. We're so critical of ourselves. And so what helped me with that is when I'm feeling a bit low, to minimize the stress, as we said, was to look at all the thank you, to have like a record, a file of all like thank you cards, or I had a product business. I would look through the testimonies, and just even like if you're employed, you may have, like appraisals, reviews, thank you from customers, clients, whatever it is to look over that, because that would reassure you and remind you that, that you are of value, you are worth. And, stop giving yourself a hard time, despite perimenopause. Yeah.
Okay, I think that helps. So this is a quick
Mm.
session that we bring on a daily basis, like a 10 minutes. So maybe you can give a few tips on, we're talking about stress and menopause. So you talked about stop being negative self-talk, which is very important.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
women tend to have the tendency to do that to ourselves. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what part of the world we are coming from. What are
Hmm.
the things that women can do to help themselves not get stressed, not judge themselves all the time, and not be so harsh on them? What are the other tips that you would give? 4 or 5 tips for women out there.
Okay. So what I would give would be lifestyle changes. So for example, um, are you a snacker? Because um, like sugar, when we're stressed, our sugar levels drop, and so that makes us want to snack. So, like healthy eating will help to prevent us feeling stress in our, like in our body. So just rather than snack, eat, like fruit, vegetables, like just something healthy. And also do an activity that makes you happy. Sometimes when we're going through perimenopause, you just want to leave, you just want to be on your own, you want to become this hermit. But just remember the sort of things that you used to do that made you happy and try and do that. Like exercise, activity, like walk to relax, that helps to, like with serotonin, the relax, like that, the happy gene. Sleeping, we all know that we're miserable when we're tired. So just ensure that we have sufficient night's sleep. So just really practical changes, and then just find someone to talk to rather than keep things to ourselves. Find somebody, whether it's a line manager, a friend, a mentor, a coach, a family member, but have somebody that you can talk to, because as they say, a problem shared is a problem halved. So even if you can't explain what is going on in your body because of perimenopause, but just explaining how you feel will help to relieve stress.
Okay. I think those are really great suggestions to all the women out there. We just want to empower you, educate you, bring this awareness of perimenopause, which a lot of it don't even understand what perimenopause is, including me, to be honest with you. So
Shall I
we,
shall I
that's
just quickly shall I
yeah.
quickly explain what it is? Okay.
Yes, please, please.
All right. So if we said that menopause is the end of periods. So you're in menopause, you're in menopause retrospectively. So 12 months having no periods consecutively, you now reach menopause, the end of periods. Now, in the UK, the average age of menopause is 54. However, perimenopause starts on average 45, and they start with irregular periods, hot flushes, night sweats, low mood, thinning hair, low libido, heart palpitations, 34 different symptoms. So all of these symptoms can happen. They can last up until 10 years. As I said, it's like 45, the average age is 45. And these are all the different symptoms that we go through due to the decline of estrogen and progesterone in the body. We know the hormones are very powerful. If you've got teenagers, or you remember your own, what it was like to be a teenager, how it felt going through the hormones, going through puberty rather. And so that is, so perimenopause is all the different symptoms that we normally associate with menopause. So I like to say that perimenopause is the journey to menopause, and menopause is the destination.
I think that's beautifully explained. That make this journey, take care of yourself, empower yourself, because this is a
Thank
long
you.
journey. This is not pregnancy. 9 months and
It's
the kid is out, right? This is like a 10-year journey all of us are going to going through or going to go through, and educating and becoming empowered and taking care of yourself, because post-menopause, guess what? There are going to be other problems which we are not talking today. So today's session is just focus on perimenopause journey, taking care of yourself to reduce stress, and how Monigho has shared her journey of brain fog. So make sure that you don't fall into the same thing, because the knowledge wasn't there from Monigho. So that's why we bring Monigho. Last thoughts before I wrap up today, Monigho? Thank you so much. Very inspiring journey.
Thank you. So last thoughts. Like for me, you know, like whatever's happened in the past, I always say don't let the past dictate the future. Just learn from the past to change your future. So whatever habits that you may have had with sleeping, work, whatever, just try and get the balance now, because then you're laying a foundation that will make it easier of this journey of perimenopause. But even more importantly, you're laying a perfect foundation for your future health.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Everyone have a great week. We are going to be launching the program, so stay tuned. Thank you. Bye-bye.